For over 50 years, there's been one name that's just a chilling symbol of unsolved crime in America. We're talking about a killer who didn't just terrorize communities. He taunted the police with these bizarre letters and codes, and then, poof, he just vanished. This is the enduring mystery of the Zodiac Killer. And that's the question, isn't it? It's the one that has haunted investigators, amateur sleuths, and, well, pretty much all of us for decades. I mean, despite one of the most intense manhunts in U.S. history, his identity has never been confirmed. It makes him a true ghost in the annals of crime. Officially, the number that law enforcement will confirm is 5. 5 murders committed by the Zodiac. 5 young lives cut short in Northern California back in the late 1960s. But that number, as awful as it is, really only tells part of the story. And this is where it gets even more terrifying. In his own twisted letters, the Zodiac claimed a much, much higher body count. This boast turned his crimes from just a series of attacks into this campaign of widespread public terror because nobody knew the true scale of his violence. All right, so let's actually walk through the timeline of his confirmed attacks. This spree, it established a pattern. He was targeting young people in these secluded, quiet areas, and it just created this massive wave of fear across the entire region. The horror really kicks off in December '68 with 2 teenagers, Jensen and Faraday. Then, in July of '69, there's an attack where one victim, Michael Mago, actually survived. This was huge because it gave investigators their first real description of the attacker. The brutality just escalates in September at Lake Berryessa, and then finally the murder of a taxi driver, Paul Stein, right in the middle of San Francisco. You see, every attack was different, but they were all connected by this terrifying randomness. But see, the Zodiac wasn't just some physical threat lurking in the dark. What truly set him apart was his desire to communicate, to inject himself right into the public consciousness. He waged this campaign of psychological warfare. So shortly after those '69 attacks, letters start showing up at local newspapers. And it's in these letters that he actually gives himself the name the Zodiac. And he introduces his infamous trademark, that symbol that looks like a crosshair. This wasn't just a signature, it was a brand of terror.
So what was in these letters? Well, this is where it gets really clever and really creepy. He'd include these little details that only the police and the killer could possibly know, which proved they were legit. He made threats, he demanded his messages be published on the front page, and most famously, he included these complex ciphers, basically challenging anyone to decode his thoughts.
And when one of his first ciphers was finally cracked, this is the horrifying message it revealed. This one sentence gave the world a direct, unfiltered look into the killer's mind. It wasn't about rage or revenge. For him, it was a sport. And that chilling detachment, that's what made him so terrifying. He was a predator just enjoying the hunt. Okay, so you've got a killer who is openly mocking law enforcement. The pressure on them was absolutely immense. This kicked off a massive, decades-long hunt for a man who just seemed to be a phantom. And I mean, everyone was on the case. You had local police departments all over Northern California, the FBI, and countless amateur detectives who just became obsessed with the mystery. But you know what? Despite thousands of leads and suspects, the Zodiac was never definitively identified. He just got away with it. You know, if you want a perfect example of how frustrating this investigation was, just look at the prime suspect, Arthur Lee Allen. On one hand, the circumstantial evidence was pretty compelling. He fit the profile in so many ways and was investigated for years. But on the other hand, the hard evidence just wasn't there. No fingerprints and, later on, no DNA match. It's the perfect picture of being so close, yet impossibly far from an actual answer. So here we are, more than half a century later. Why are we still so fascinated by this case? Well, the answer isn't just in the crimes themselves, but in how the mystery transformed into this enduring cultural phenomenon. It really boils down to 3 main things. First, it's the puzzle itself, right? A killer who taunts the entire world and never gets caught, that's a deeply unsettling idea that we just can't let go of. Second, you've got the Zodiac's theatrical nature, the costumes, the codes, the letters. It made him more than just a criminal. He was like a real-life supervillain. And finally, our own culture keeps the story alive through countless books, documentaries, and movies. But here's the crucial takeaway. The Zodiac's impact went far beyond his victims. His seemingly random attacks completely shattered the feeling of safety in an entire region. He helped create our modern image of the cunning, attention-seeking serial killer. A monster who wasn't just hiding in the shadows, but was actively looking for the spotlight. He really did change things. With all the advances in DNA and forensic genealogy, there's always a little flicker of hope. But for now, the Zodiac remains a ghost, a question mark just hanging over American history. And we're all left to wonder if the face behind that chilling crosshair symbol will ever truly be revealed.